There's a power within you. It lifts your life to its highest level. It brings happiness, success, companionship, health, and peace of mind. As you tap into this power, it will respond to you because this power is within you. And that's why spirituality rocks. Welcome. Have I got a juicy show for you today? I'm your host, Janine Burns. I teach practical spirituality according to New Thought Principles. New Thought Principles teaches that there's one ultimate loving energy, presence, and power throughout all of the universe. And this power actually seeks to express in you, through you, and as you. New Thought Principles teach that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So we don't teach you what to think, but we teach you how to think, to empower yourselves, so you can live from the conscious awareness that there is this power that expresses through you. New Thought teaches the two main aspects of God are love and wisdom. Love is the glue that holds the universe together, and wisdom are the divine ideas that we receive whenever we ask. The universe gives them to us. And so whatever you choose to call this power, God, infinite intelligence, love, whatever you choose to call this power, it is always right with you. And the world is undergoing a rapid spiritual transformation. And each week on the show, we bring you nationally renowned guests who will inspire you and empower you to awaken to your divine nature and expand your consciousness as you learn skills for life mastery. And so we have with us today two absolutely outstanding guests. My first guest is Dennis Merritt Jones, and later on in the show, our guest is Mark Anthony Lord. So Dennis Merritt Jones, he is a speaker, he's an author, he writes for the Huffington Post, and he has these two fantastic books called The Art of Being and The Art of Uncertainty. And so Dennis Merritt Jones, welcome to the show.
Hello, my friend. It's good to talk to you again. Thank you for having me.
It's fantastic that you're with us again. So my question for you is, what spiritual truth or spiritual idea have you been focusing upon lately?
Well, it's propitious timing to ask me that question, because it's been a real interesting journey for me the last year, but more specifically the last 6 months. I just finished a new book that the title of the book is Your Redefining Moments, and the subtitle is Becoming Who You Were Born to Be. And that has really been my focus recently. My own journey is working my way back to who was I born to be, and to continue to revisit the depth and the profound nature of that question. And you said something very interesting in your introduction, Janine. You said that the world is rapidly, there's energy moving throughout the world, and there's rapid transformation happening. And we see that on the news just about every night, what's going on in the Ukraine right now and other places around the world in the last year. There is a stirring in the energy of humankind that is rising up and wanting to be expressed, and to express the freedom of life that is inherent within each and every human being. And we see that happening around the planet, and that's really what's going on in my own life. I've been revisiting how that energy is stirring within me to rise up, to express the authentic self I was the moment I was born.
And so how has that been unfolding for you? Has it been through self-analyzing? Has it been through meditation? How's the process? How are you getting there?
Well, for me, it really was about writing this book. And while the book is not my personal journey or the story, it's really the story of the process for me has been finding my way back to who I was, that sacred moment that I was given life before, just that spark of the infinite, before I took form in the human condition. And finding my way back to that authentic spark, that life force that I was then, but still am today. That's been my journey, is revisiting the sacred pilgrimage of going back to who I initially was. And this is the same element of truth for every human being. The moment we were born, but the older we get, the further we have gotten away from remembering who that was, because the labels great at sticking the world's great at sticking all kinds of labels on us that cause us to kind of enter a spiritual amnesia and forget who we were. So for me personally, it's about revisiting every day. You're right, meditation is one way. Spiritual practices, probably for me, the greatest element of practice for me to go back to remembering who I was intended to be, and who I was born to be, is mindfulness practices. Trying to live every moment to the best of my ability in the present moment. To live mindfully connected to Source.
A lot of people leave out that tagline there, and they talk about mindfulness, but what I heard you just say is mindfully connected to Source. Source meaning God, meaning Spirit.
Capital S, yeah.
With a capital S. You know what, and I love that term, your authentic self, because then your authentic self is your divine nature and living from that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is we've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten the divine nature of who we were born to be, and each one of us unique unto itself. And the world has shaped us in a manner that we've forgotten. We've just gone unconscious, and so it's about. And I think we see that happening around the planet right now. Things are being shaken up. People are starting to remember that there's something inherent within them that's incredibly powerful and is seeking to be expressed uniquely.
Yes. And it's nudging at people. It's just pressing to come out and be manifest in their lives in unique ways. So this kind of reminds me of values clarification, where you look at your life and you look at the rules by which you live your life and you discern how you want to show up and how it works for you. Do you talk about that in your book, or what modalities do you talk about to help people reach that awareness of the authentic self?
Well, there's all kinds of things that we have to go through. The first is just awakening and beginning to remember that you're more than your body, okay. And therefore you're more than your experience. And a lot of people are they're so seduced by the human condition that they have forgotten that they were a spiritual being before they were a human being. And that process is one of daily coming back to Source and realigning with the truth of who I am, and bringing that self, capital S, from the core of my being up to the surface of my life. It's kind of like where the horizontal life, living on the surface of life, everyday life, happens, where it intersects with the vertical aspect of myself, which is that deeper core self that I make a great effort to bring to the surface on a daily basis. And again, it's a mindfulness practice. Life is about living in the present moment, being aware that we're more than who we see looking back at us in the mirror.
You know, my auto mechanic, I talked to him about these. I had written an article on mindful awareness, and in fact, I love a phrase of yours that I use, which is remember to remember. Mm-hmm. Remember to remember that God is all there is. And I was talking to him about mindfulness, and he said that it had such a profound impact on his life to be mindful, because it stopped him from tailspinning into negativity. So that if something went wrong, that if he stopped and looked in the present moment and reevaluated how it got him out of negative self-talk, and it kept him from getting, distraught or getting depressed by the daily experiences of everyday life, the stress of everyday life.
Mm. Well, when you're living mindfully, you're in the present moment, and the reality is, in the sacred moment, the present moment at hand, there's nothing. It's perfect just the way it is. And so when we project ourselves into the future or get glued into the past, that we begin to suffer.
That is so well put, and I wonder if people understand that about mindfulness. And I would appreciate that we could repeat that we suffer because...
Yeah, we cast ourselves into the future, or we're stuck in the past, And neither of those two places exist. The only thing that exists right now is your next breath, and to be present with it and realizing that breath is a sacred experience. And
and that's a great tool, by the way, to get us out of the pits of despair, because a lot of people, we film here live at the Madhouse TV studios, Deer Park, Long Island, and about a year and a half ago, we had a really bad storm. It's called Sandy, that just devastated the vicinity. I mean, it just slammed us. And there's so many people still trying to recover from that, actually. And so a lot of people every day are putting up with the daily experiences of managing that. Or we've had a lot of snowstorms and we've managed it. But like you said, if we're in the present moment, then we do whatever is in front of us. And breathing is actually a fantastic skill to get you centered and to also release any feelings of stress and strain. My big thing is exhale. People say breathe. I don't like it so much when people say breathe, because I find that people breathe and then they hold their breath. But when you...
Yeah, well, breathing in and breathing out is as important as breathing in. You know, it's kind of like giving and taking. You can't just take; you have to also give back.
Yes.
Breathing is a sacred practice when you can remember that. I use the mantra on my in-breath, God is, and on my out-breath, I am.
Oh, what a wonderful tool for the viewing audience.
Reminding myself on the in-breath, whether it's silent or outspoken out loud, is God is, and on the out-breath, I am. And remembering that what you put I am in front of, you tend to become.
Absolutely. I am is the name of God within you. I can't say I am Dennis. I only can say I am Janine. So whenever we say I am, whatever we attach to that, we're basically saying it's our nature to be. So yeah, that's fantastic. Oh, I love that. Thank you for telling the viewers that they can breathe in and say God is and I am. So
my mantra this week has been God is, I am, healthy, wealthy, happy, and wise.
Oh, now I think my grandma used to sing me that. God is, I am, healthy, wealthy, happy, and wise.
Healthy, wealthy, happy, and wise.
I love it.
That's been my mantra this week. And when I'm walking, I use that. It's powerful mindfulness practice just to bring you back into the moment.
Exactly. Well, you know, I want you to know that we have a banner across the screen right now that says your web address, which is www.dennismerrittjones.com. And for those of you who don't know, Dennis is the king of blogs. At least I think you are. And it's just, I love getting your emails with your blogs because, frankly, they're not too long to read, but they give me a lot of juice for in my private time when I want to focus and I want to meditate and I want to contemplate. I want to make sure there's a distinction between meditating and contemplating. First I contemplate, and then meditation is my intention to, as much as possible, clear my mind and pay attention to my breathing. And I know you also write for the Huffington Post, but I also want to remind the people that you wrote The Art of Being and The Art of Uncertainty. These books can be gotten at Dennis's website, or you can go on to Amazon.com. And I promise you, if you get these books, that you'll be very pleased. You can also check out Dennis Merritt Jones if you go on to spiritualityrockstv.com. spiritualityrockstv.com. What you'll see is you'll be right on the website for the TV show, and you can search for Dennis Merritt Jones because he has actually been on the show a couple of times, and he will be back again in April. So do you have a parting thought for us, Dennis, or please remind us the name of your new book?
The new book is Your Redefining Moments, Becoming Who You Were Born to Be. And I would just encourage everybody listening to take a deep breath and think about the fact that you're on this planet because you're supposed to be here. You are very important to this planet, or you wouldn't be here. So it's not just who you are, it's what you do with who you are that matters. So live mindfully, live deeply and sacredly with deep gratitude for the gift of life that's been given to you, and just conduct your life in a way that honors the giver of the gift, and you will have a rich and blessed life.
And so it is. Dennis Merritt Jones, I bless you, and I appreciate you, and I love you. Thank you for being on Spirituality Rocks.
My pleasure, my friend. Be well. Bye.
You too. Don't go far, because when we return, I'm going to introduce you to not only the Woodstock guru, but to Mark Anthony Lord. And we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am
My name is Dr. Robert Brevard. I'm here for Multi-Medicine in Westbury, New York. We're located at 1065 Old Country Road, Suite 214. Been here for about 15 years. The practice has medical doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. We also do pain management, and we have orthopedists on staff. Here at Advanced Multi-Medicine Rehabilitation, we've got physical therapists on staff who treat an array of conditions, from neck pain to back pain, shoulder pain. We treat carpal tunnel. We treat a lot of car accident patients, slip and falls. We treat patients with knee injuries, with ankle injuries. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We've been here for over 15 years. Vast array of diagnostic testing, from x-rays to EMGs. What is an EMG? It's a diagnostic test that allows a doctor to determine where the pinched nerve is. Cora is a physical therapist at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. She's working on Stephanie, who was involved recently in an automobile accident. Stephanie has tight thoracic and cervical musculature, and Cora is doing some myofascial release work and some therapeutic stretching to help her with her pain. Vicky is also a patient here at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. Vicky is now working her leg muscles, specifically her quadricep muscles, trying to strengthen them after an injury she sustained. If you find yourself in need of any type of physical therapy, please don't hesitate to call Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation, located in Westbury, New York, in Suite 214. Phone number is 516-334-7000, or find us on our website at advancedmultimedicine.com.
I am Tom Mealy for the Harrison Law Group, and I have been telling you for years that getting involved in an automobile accident is no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. If you've been involved in an accident of any kind and you go to a law firm that says you have no case, it's simple. It's because they can't do it and they don't get it. You need to call us directly at 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Are you planning an event and want to include entertainment, but you're not sure where to turn? Act1Entertainment.net has provided over 1,500 events with quality, affordable live entertainment at private parties, corporate affairs, festivals, bike rallies, and more. Act 1 will fit into your budget. They're friendly, reliable, and do all the legwork for you. They take all major credit cards. Log on to Act1Entertainment.net for a free, no-obligation price quote, or call 631-758-3505 for a brochure. You'll be happy you did.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, delighted to be with you today with our special guest. In the studio is Tommy Marr, who is the Maverick Soul. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Dr. Janine. How are you?
Great to have you with us again.
It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
So Tommy considers himself spiritual but not religious, so I thought he'd be a great co-host today as we look at the work of Mark Anthony Lord. Mark Anthony Lord is the founder and spiritual director of the Bodhi Center over in Chicago, Illinois. He's written this fantastic book called Thou Shalt Not Suffer, 7 Steps to a Life of Joy. Welcome to Spirituality Rocks, Mark Anthony Lord.
Thank you, Janine. Hello, Tommy.
How are you?
Great to have you with us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
And I love your book. And the reason I love your book is there's so many exercises in it. And I love doing exercises because they lead me closer to my everyday conscious awareness of the power that I am, that expresses through me. And in the beginning of the book, you talk about this idea, thou shalt not suffer, because traditional religion has taught us, that we suffer, and then when we get to heaven, we're found happiness. But that is not your premise at all. Tell us about your premise that we don't have to suffer.
Well, that's why I named the book Thou Shalt Not Suffer, because it really is the old era mentality. The old culture, the old way of being really does say, put other people first, put yourself last, don't have any needs or wants, play small in life, get through this life, and then you'll be rewarded in heaven. And those principles aren't principles at all. They're based in fear. And we're in a new era today. We're in a much lighter consciousness where more and more people are reading books by Deepak Chopra and being spiritual, not religious, like you said, like you are, Tommy. And so in order to really become more spiritual and to live in this new era where there's so much easier way of being, we have to give up our suffering ways.
Fantastic. And in the book, what you said, one of the basic ideas for giving up our suffering ways is to get a new idea about God. is that so many of us have this idea of an anthropomorphic God who is a punishing God. And so talk to us about this idea of getting a new idea of God.
Well, I really have come to learn and realize in my own experience, in my teaching, that we all have some idea about God, and our belief about God is what's important. God itself is beyond human comprehension, but it's our belief and our faith in God that makes the difference. And so many people, here's the equation I want people to have. Your God needs to be bigger than any problem or any situation that you're ever going to encounter. That's all that I care about, is helping people have a God that's bigger than what they're going through. If you've got that, your faith will grow, your life will work, and you will feel peace and joy inside of yourself, and you will suffer less.
Right. And also in the book, I recall you emphasizing a loving God.
Yeah, that is important. I come from a traditional religion that really taught that God was outside of me, that God was keeping score, that if I did something really horrible, I could possibly burn in hell forever. That's a scary, scary idea and thought for young children. And many of us were taught that. Many of us, even if we weren't taught it, we grew up in a culture that taught that, or parts of our culture believed it. So our work is to release ourselves from those beliefs, even though they may be gone in a distant past in our childhood, they still live inside of us, especially when we become afraid.
Right, and you know, I was just going to bring that up, because on page 4 of your book, it says here that when you encounter challenging times in your life, when you feel up against the wall, that God then surfaces as a victimizer. And instead of turning to God for hope and inspiration when you need the most, there you are feeling alone and unsupported. And I really like this idea that you purport here about getting rid of this scary kind of vengeful, kind of God. The thing is, though, it kind of shook me up a little bit. We were talking about it when you said, fire the old God. We want to know more about that one.
I developed that exercise when I worked in a treatment center, when I worked with a bunch of addicts. I love working with addicts because they need to survive. They need their spirituality. And, I was really clear that they were always going to choose their drug of choice if they didn't have a higher power that was bigger and better. And so I made up this fun exercise, which is in the book, that they wrote a termination letter, firing their old God, getting rid of it, and in the letter, writing all the ways that God didn't show up for them, all the ways that their definition of God was not working for them, and just get it out and say, you're terminated now, no severance pay, you're out.
Okay, and then what do you think of that, Tommy?
I'm liking it better, hearing it from him now.
Well, Tommy didn't have a chance to read the book because he was filling in today. I had a chance to book. Right, okay, and then the next step was that you create a new God. And I love what you said. You wrote, trust me, you know the God of your being. And then talk about your exercise to hire a new God and that the new ideas of God that you espouse in the book.
Well, it's the opposite. Once you fire your old God, you've got a position open now, so you need to fill the position. So again, keeping it light and fun, but while we're doing deep work, then you write a help wanted ad. You write out the exact kind of God that works for you. Like for me, I don't remember, specifically what I wrote, but, the students I teach, it's like, I need a God that's available 24/7. I need a God that's going to be bigger than my cravings at 10 o'clock at night when the ice cream is screaming my name. I need a God that's going to really help me grow in this particular area. We really can design and ask God to be who we need God to be.
I love that so much. Because even though many people may have this new idea of God as an energy and a presence and power, I'm not sure that they've made it personal to them. That
Exactly.
makes it personal.
That's the deal for me too, because I was raised in unity, and then I did traditional religion, and then unity, and then science of mind, and these new thought religions, especially science of mind, they really love to talk about the macrocosm God, the huge God that isn't personal, but God is everything, and God is deeply personal. And there are 7 billion plus people on the planet, and every one of us knows God individually. So that's a relationship that when you cultivate it and you get to know it and it is just the best relationship in the world.
And I have to say, I've been ordained for 25 years, and when I read this, there was some kind of a switch in there for me. Because I'm not so sure that it was all encompassing for me. Like, I know the big things and I pray and things happen, but just your simple idea that my God is God that's bigger than that peanut butter crunch ice cream that's sitting in my refrigerator. Or my God is bigger than there's a challenge going on with a sale I'm trying to make, and I keep on saying it's in divine order, but to take that and expand it to beyond saying, oh, it's in divine order, which I believe, to say, I have a God that's personal, and because I feel it more. I feel it more.
Yeah. Well, to really, whatever's happening, your God is bigger than your debt. Your God is bigger than losing your job. Your God is bigger than that lover walking out the door. It doesn't matter what's happening. Your God is bigger than that.
Love it. And then
it just feels good.
It does feel good, and it feels great. And then then the book goes talking about then building a relationship with your God, this new definition that you have. And you know what? I love the part about imagining God as a dear friend. What do you think about that?
Well, I think in kind of a way what he's saying is that we should more focus on the good things that we have rather than always nitpicking the negative things in life. Like, we recently just did a telethon at Ronald McDonald House. I mean, you want to be brought down to reality, and see how really good you have it. In America, we're so spoiled with how good we really have it and how good God has been to us. Mm-hmm. And, we I think what he's saying is like, we focus more on the little nitpicking negative things than actually focusing on how really good we do have it.
Well, the book does talk about God being good. You did make that statement in there somewhere, that God and good are synonymous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And another thing I liked here, you talked about prayer. And you had another exercise in the book. Pray to your new God. And what I love this, with prayer you can turbocharge your connection and communication with God. I just love that word, turbocharge. Tell us more.
Well, I think that, I think that we're always, and you know this too, we're always creating. Everything you're thinking about is causing creation to occur, which is why many of us are creating, good things and not good things and going for our dreams and backing up 2 steps because every thought we have is creative. Prayer is like taking all of your creative energy and shooting straight to the source. It's positive, it's powerful, and it can move mountains.
Yeah, and I'm not sure everybody understands that all thought is creative. That, right. We need to be mindful, that as the word Dennis used, we need to be mindful, not just what we're thinking, but what we're saying. And what I liked in the book, as you said, is that when some negatives came up, you said to the Holy Spirit, okay, take it away. Yeah.
I need fast things that just I can't go into huge prayer. We are back to Tommy, talking about we here in America, we are very sloppy thinkers. We are really we could not be lazier and sloppier. And if we really, like you said, Janine, if people really knew how powerful their thinking is, we would not be so sloppy.
Yeah. My friend Mary Tumpkin, recently deceased Mary Tumpkin, a buddy of mine, she would say that most people go to church, and when they park their car in the parking lot, they leave their brains inside the trunk and then go inside.
Couldn't agree more.
And that we must learn to become critical thinkers.
Couldn't agree more.
Yes, you couldn't agree more.
Couldn't agree more.
You know what? It's already time for another commercial break. How do you like that? Don't go too far. We'll be right back with Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
Hi, my name is Dr. Tom Dow. We have a multidiscipline practice in Melville and Ronkonkoma, New York, and we treat patients with many, many different conditions, from newborns through geriatric patients with numerous different techniques. There's a technique and a type of treatment for every class of patient. We have them all here. Here's my son Thomas, also a doctor of chiropractic, working on one of our patients' cervical spine. This patient has had chronic neck pain for many, many, many years, has been to a multitude of different practitioners with little or no response. And with our specialized techniques, she has improved tremendously and continues to improve on a daily basis. We have two practices, one in Melville and one in Ronkonkoma, New York. We are a multidiscipline chiropractic office. What that means is we have chiropractors, massage therapists, acupuncturists, psychologists, all working as a team and a network of outside professionals such as orthopedists and neurologists that we work hand in hand with to help determine what your injuries are and the best way to treat your injuries. I have the great pleasure of having my son in practice with me. We work hand in hand, father and son, to give our patients the best care possible, and a staff which is loving, caring, and you'll never have to wait at all in our office for service. Many times patients come into our office and they have what's called a soft tissue injury. Soft tissue injuries are like scars inside your body. If you've ever been cut on the outside of your body, you get a scar. The same thing happens inside of your body to your muscles and ligaments. So our job is to determine where those are, stretch the muscles, adjust the vertebra back into their correct position, and then refortify the normal structure with exercise. That's what we do best, and I hope someday you'll come see us at one of our two offices. Thank you.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns. Joining me is the Maverick Soul, Mr. Tommy Marr. Welcome. Good to have you again.
Be here again.
Again, in 20 seconds, tell people about your show and when it airs.
It airs on Monday nights here in Madhouse TV. It's called the Maverick Soul Hour with Tommy Marr. We've had some of the biggest bands in the world in here. We spent the day with The Who. I've had 10 Years After in here. Cactus, Vanilla Fudge, George Thorogood's Destroyers.
Right.
And the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest bands in the world, and many, many more coming up. So
awesome. Monday nights
and
at 8
local
p.m.
bands too.
Yeah.
And local bands.
Monday nights at 8 p.m. The show airs live, and also
Right.
you can just go to madhousetv.com and check it out. Okay, we are back with the fabulous Mark Anthony Lord. Woohoo! The energy in the room from speaking to him is risen so much. You can see on the screen that you can check him out at his name, markanthonylord.com. And his book is Thou Shalt Not Suffer, 7 Steps to a Life of Joy. And when I was telling Tommy during the commercial break and earlier that I love the book because there's exercises in it. And you know what? In New Thought, people talk about forgiveness, 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 forgiveness. And I'm not really sure people have a really clear idea about what forgiveness really is. I know for me, when I was studying practical spirituality, when I studied forgiveness, that was the thing that really pitched me over in wanting to become a teacher. And describe to us, what is forgiveness?
Well, forgiveness I love to talk about it because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around forgiveness. Forgiveness is a mystical practice, number one. We don't know how forgiveness is done. It is not our business to figure that out. So many people think, I have to forgive. I did this, or they did that. And we get stuck in the low vibration of the problem. And the part of us that believes that something bad was done or we did something bad is not the part that can forgive. You can't fix the problem at the level of the problem. We have to call upon a higher power of love to fix the problem, because in love doesn't see a problem. So our job in forgiveness, what forgiveness is, or how I see it is, we have to ask that it be done, and we have to be willing for forgiveness to change our mind and our hearts. Our part, once we've asked for forgiveness and we're willing to have forgiveness be done, we have to not tell the story. We have to, like you were talking about, staying in the present moment with Dennis Merritt Jones, you have to just free yourself from repeating the suffering that is trapped in the mind. So it's a big idea. I don't know if that answers your question well enough.
Yeah, that's a huge idea. Tommy?
I would like to ask you, that is something I do have a problem with, is forgiveness. And I'm trying to work my way through it as I go through my path and my journey of life.
Okay.
But for me, forgiveness, I mean, is there a time and a place where not so much forgiveness, but removing the negativity away from your life? You know what I mean?
You mean the person or the event?
People.
People, okay.
People. I'm talking people. I mean,
so first of all, we never have a problem with forgiveness. We have a problem with the story and the abuse repeating itself in our mind, in our words, and in our body. So people always go, I have a problem with forgiveness. No, you don't. You have a problem with remembering and recycling the story over and over and over of the past. But let me answer your question. People also get stuck in going into the future. Well, when I forgive, will I have to hang out with them? Or will they have to blah, 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 blah? And I say, stay right here. Let forgiveness change your heart and your mind, and let forgiveness transform you, and you will become who you're supposed to be in relationship with these people. Forgiveness will not make you a doormat. Forgiveness will, for some people, say, you need boundaries here. Do not hang out with these people. Forgiveness for the next person will dissolve boundaries so that love comes together. There's no one perfect outcome that is the answer, but every one of us, when we let forgiveness heal our mind and heal our hearts, we know what to do. And too many people get stuck on trying to figure out what to do on the other side of forgiveness before they even let forgiveness do its work. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, and I want to emphasize a couple of things I heard you say, which was you cannot forgive from your human self.
Yes.
That's a key point, that you ask. You ask for your higher power, you ask God, whatever you choose to call this power, to do the forgiving for you. And then the other step is not figuring out when, and you say in your book here on page 25, don't figure out how, when, and where. So much, the conscious mind, they wants to know where, when, how, and all this, rather than your part is to refrain from thinking about the situation and refrain from talking about it. Because what happens is, I tell you about, this, what I call an egregious situation, and then the next time I tell somebody else, we get writer's embellishment, and a horrible story gets worse and worse and worse. And what happens is we feel worse and worse and worse. And remember, all thought is creative. So when we keep on focusing on the story, it's like a snowball at the top of the hill. It rolls down and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so what it says here, when the thought of a specific incident or person comes to mind, and it begins to seduce me into anger, and isn't that what it does? It seduces you into anger. It seems like such a mild word. How about rage, How about being incensed, And you feel, right, and you feel like you're suffering, and you feel self-righteous. Listen to this. As quickly as possible, quote, I say, Holy Spirit, take this now, remove this from my mind and set me free. And you know what? Sometimes I have to do it several times, because forgiveness is a spiritual practice, it's a process, it's not a one-time event.
Janine, you rock. That was so.
Oh, I'm
that
flattered.
was perfect. You went into this fantastic sermon. That was amazing.
Well, you know,
I
it's
had to say yes.
Thank you. Hallelujah. Yes, once it's in your blood, you never can get it out. The one thing I want to really make sure is that we understand too is that forgiveness, frankly, the reason you do forgiveness is for you. Because the person that needs forgiveness, they're out on a Hawaiian cruise vacation. And you're the one who's suffering in your own mind.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's why we forgive.
I've been trying this
And I would add,
new thing, too.
I would add that what I want people to understand is, and I know you know this, forgiveness is not a one-time deal.
Right.
Like you said, it's a spiritual practice. So I hear people go, oh, I forgave that. And they'll do that sort of attitude. Oh, I forgave that. I'm like, well, you don't sound like you did. It still sounds like it's stirred up inside of you. So just like meditation, just like prayer, we do it over and over and over. And forgiveness is done until it feels complete in your mind and your heart, which means you have no triggers or energy around what happened any longer. Then you can, move on to another forgiveness practice.
That is so huge, Mark. There's no more triggers. That person can walk through your mind and walk right in and out without any angst and frustration. Now, this is really cool. I love, love, love this. In the book, there's the exercise, the 70 times 70 forgiveness circle. And that, of course, refers to in the Bible where Jesus said, forgive 70 times 70, which in essence he was saying it's unlimited. Not, 490 times, which in the book you said as a little kid you thought it was 490 times. I thought that was great. But here's the exercise. And you must get this book because I'm going to outline the exercise, but the juicy part's in it. So you take 7 concentric circles, and you start each representing a different layer of the relationships in your life. So the middle circle is God. The next bigger circle is yourself. The next bigger circle is your family. The next one is your interpersonal relationships, your spouse, your lovers, your friends. Next are acquaintances and associates, that clerk at the grocery store, and any distant connections. Next are companies and institutions, and then outside of that, the last one is your beliefs. And what I love is that you actually give us forgiveness prayers for each one that we would say over 10 times a day for 7 days. So that makes 70 times 7. Hello? You're going to buy the book, aren't you? Oh, you're taking mine.
Hack your book
He's
over
going to
here.
hack mine. Oh, nice. Nice. So that I love. And so, Tommy, what I'm going to ask you to do right now, we always like to have a prayer time during the show.
Okay.
If you could work with this prayer, and of course it goes to the next page just a little bit, on forgiveness, and this is forgiveness of ourselves. So let's just take a moment, we go within, and what we just simply do is you may want to close your eyes, but just take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, another breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and just focus on these words that you're about to hear. Tommy?
I, Tommy, ask that total forgiveness be activated within me and for me.
And of course you're going to put your own name in there.
I did.
No, the TV viewers are going to put their own name in there.
Where I say Tommy, you say your name.
Okay, go ahead, keep going.
I ask that I be freed from every judgment and limitation I hold against myself. For every lie I have ever told, I ask that forgiveness free me from the ripples of their effect, and that I be lifted into my full integrity, always confident to speak my truth with love and clarity. I ask that forgiveness flow through me, specifically for my body temple. I open to allow all the abuses, words, and actions that my body has endured to be healed. For everything I have ever done, said, or thought that is less than holy, less than grateful, and out of alignment with my integrity, for all the ways I have hurt others and myself, known and unknown, I ask that forgiveness heal them and me so that only care and connection remain. Holy Spirit, set into motion the power of forgiveness. For my ignorance and fear, I know not what I do. Please let the power of forgiveness set me completely and forever free from the past. It is over, and so it is. And so it shall be.
Awesome. And so it is. Wow. Gosh, Mark, just hearing that once, I feel my vibrational energy raised. Can you imagine saying that 10 times a day for 7 days in a row? Woohoo! Yahoo!
Good reading, Tommy. You read it like a minister.
Thank you, Tommy. So stick around. We're going to be right back, and we're going to learn more about how to love ourselves with Thou Shalt Not Suffer, 7 Steps to a Life of Joy with Mark Anthony Lord. So we'll be right back with Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
Stop the truck! Stop the truck! Thank you.
Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware.
We have 3 of the largest showrooms of safes on display and in stock. You can see and touch them in person instead of browsing a catalog. We carry gun and rifle safes, burglary safes, jewelry safes, fire rated from a half hour to 2 hour. Famous name brands.
We sell Gardol.
We sell AMSAC. The new AMSAC touchscreen.
If you're ever in need of a safe, think Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware. Right, Lockie?
That's right, Alan.
For professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, and with me in the studio is the Maverick Soul, Mr. Tommy Marr. Welcome back to the show.
I like being here, Janine. It's fun.
Awesome. I have this fantastic CD. It's called Tunes for Transformation. During the commercial breaks, in and out of them, you've heard the music. If you send to the Guiding Light Foundation, that's Post Office Box 472 in Woodbury, New York. If you send us a donation of $10, we'll be happy to send you this CD. And if you send us a self-addressed stamped envelope, we will send you some spiritual affirmations or whatever, anything else you'd like information on. We're happy to send that to you. We have affirmative prayers to give you, but we actually have affirmation cards that we've recently made up that we'd be happy to send to you. And I also want to thank you for friending us on Facebook. On Facebook, you can look for Spirituality Rocks and also Spirituality Rocks TV. And we've grown substantially. Thank you for friending us. Thank you for telling your friends about this show because we're getting bigger and bigger. And we're having more and more fantastic people on the show, such as Mark Anthony Lord, who's joining us today from Skype in Chicago. Welcome back to the show. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have been waiting to talk to this chapter about love yourself madly. You know what? I have read so many of these books that talk, and they talk, you know, since before you can remember, you've learned all about the rules of the world and about how you can be accepted or rejected. And I was in my, at least in my mid to late 30s before I realized I wasn't Fatso Four Eyes. You know, and I mean, I was called that, and I always thought I was stupid. And, I mean, I did because this is what I was told. And actually, my nickname was Ugly. Can you believe that? My nickname? They actually called me that as a, you know, in my early 20s. So I had to get over that, and getting over that was by learning spiritual principles and learning more about God through me does the work. Whatever I need to do, it was God through me that did it. And that, boy, did that change my self-image and my self-concept. But I still had some issues. So then I'd read these books that would say, stand in front of the mirror naked and say, I love you. Well, I couldn't stand in front of the mirror and say, I love you, because I'm standing in front of the mirror and I was looking at the cellulite. Or I was standing in front of the mirror saying, gosh, I could, you know, lose a couple of pounds, or gee, I really am too short. I need to be taller, or whatever. I would find myself critical. What I love about your book there, Mark, is you said that be yourself and you are loved. That every time you look outside of yourself for love, recognition, or approval, that you're abandoning yourself. Woohoo!
Yeah, it's true. And it starts with one of my favorite quotes, that chapter by Byron Katie, where she says, it's not your job to like me, it's mine.
Yes.
And I think that flips the whole game over, you know, to the world we lived in, where we spent, you know, how do I get you to like me? How do I get you to approve me? Win friends, influence people, all of that external focus on everybody else. And it really is inside of our own selves when we generate our own self-love, our own self-affirmation, our own appreciation. What is the paradox is that the world begins giving it back to us in bucket loads, but it must begin with ourselves. So that's why this chapter is so important on the journey of moving from suffering to living a life of joy. It's really helping people realize and wake up to the truth that our own love and appreciation for ourselves is where the real power is. Because every time we look to someone else to get it, that someone else is going to possibly leave. They're going to die. They're going to find someone else. The world always disappoints, but our love inside ourselves never does. Once you generate it, and that's a lot of practice to get that activated.
Oh, indeed, because so much of our self-talk is so negative. It's self-rejection,
Yes.
self-punishment, blame, guilt. And in the book, you talk about unworthiness, and you know, we treat ourselves like an ugly creature living on the bottom of a swamp. And what I like here is that when you talk about that, this is about managing our negative self-talk. What you say is, my divine, please take this thought and transform it with your love, and please heal the effects of it on every level of my being, that I might awaken to the love that I truly am. Let love heal right here. That is so sweet.
Thank you. You know, I'm a big fan of letting God or the divine or the universe, whatever word you're using, to do the heavy lifting. My job is to keep it light and keep asking. And our job, I really believe, keep asking the divine, keep asking spirit to do the heavy lifting. You don't have to figure out how to change your thinking. Just ask that it be changed.
You know, if we ended the show right now, that would be all we need. I mean, if you want to take a gem away from the show, ask. Ask God to help with your healing. Ask God help with your ministry.
Yes.
You're going to ask. Yeah, I got to get busy asking. And what you said is the more you can observe your thoughts and surrender them, the faster the voices will dissolve. And then you said the God of your being can only do for you what it can do through you. Tell us why this is such an important idea.
Well, that's a big idea. The
Yes.
reason that God can only do for you what God can do through you is because if God did more than what you were able to receive or to embody, then you actually would not be one with God. You would have some external power that was like a puppeteer guiding your life and having power over you. But because you have free choice, because you have free will, because you are literally a living expression and extension of God itself, it can only do for you what it can do through you. Think of your hand. Your hand can only do for you what you direct it to do. If your hand had a mind of its own, you'd be in pretty big trouble. It would be doing all kinds of goofy things. So the analogy is perfect. Your hand only does what you direct it to. God only does what you guide God to do. Which is why we need a really big God.
We need a big God. And in the book, you said to write a love letter to yourself. And I'm reading this page, and I'm like, write a love letter to myself? Okay. And then I turned the page, and you gave a beautiful example. And so what I did is I substituted my name, and I read the letter. And gosh, it felt so good. I have to admit there was a part of me that was kind of giggling because, you know, I love you to the moon and back. But overall, I just love that I invited myself to be more loving and supportive of myself. And then the best part, the bestest, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's amazing after all. I love that. I'm going to be singing that. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's amazing after all. I love to sing jingles. And what you said, because I said before, is I've done these thank you exercises, Mark, and they just haven't been happening for me because my self-talk gets the better of me. But now that I know that I'm going to give up the self-talk to spirit, rather than me having to manage it with thought substitution or working with affirmations, I'm just going to give it up. What you said here is to look in the mirror and look at your eyes and say, thank you, eyes, I love and appreciate you. That was huge, rather than just like willy-nilly saying, oh, I'm so great and I love me. Thank you, hands, I love and appreciate you. Thank you, feet, for moving me forward with ease. I love and appreciate you. And don't stop, and you've covered every part of your body from head to foot. Wow, I'm loving that so much. I love you, Mark. I just love you.
It's good stuff.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you mentioning in relationship to this chapter, the sort of the cynicism or the part of you that's like, but here's the deal, you guys. Why not shower love over ourselves like we're a little puppy, the best little baby in the world? Why wouldn't we love ourselves to the moon and back? Why wouldn't we? We want other people to do it. We give it to other people. Why? Again, the world teaches us the exact opposite. We must love ourselves way past the moon. We are that fantastic. I really believe that.
That's awesome. Well, I want to make sure the studio audience, the viewing audience, knows that they can get in touch with you by checking out markanthonylord.com. markanthonylord.com. And if you are in the Chicago area, you can go to the Bodhi Center and see Mark live and in person, and even go to what's the Bodhi website?
BODHI is how you spell Bodhi, bodhispiritualcenter.org. And you can also go to iTunes, podcast, Bodhi Spiritual Center, and you will get all of my talks and all of our Sunday services. So you can hear us anywhere you are.
Oh, Bodhi, iTunes. Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. I just want to remind the people the name of the book, Thou Shalt Not Suffer, 7 Steps to a Life of Joy. And the rest of the book talks about surrender and generously receiving all the good in life. Tell us the name of the person you want us to pray for.
I really ask everyone out there, because I know the people who are watching are very spiritual, and I think you're all good people. And last night I went to a birthday party for a very dear friend that I've known all my life, and he's a terrific, terrific human being, and he's a wonderful guy.
What's his name?
His name is Greg Cosentino, and I ask you all to please give him some prayers, because he got some bad news yesterday. But I absolutely know, and I'm absolutely positive that he's going to be fine. He's going to be spiritually cured. And I think maybe if I could get a little help from you guys out there,
okay,
I'd really appreciate it, because he is a really, really super good person.
And now that you had this TV show, you can get back there and tell him that to make a God that's bigger than any illness that he's experiencing.
Yes.
He's going to be all right.
All righty. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. I think we have just a moment here, so I want to tell you, please like us on Facebook, Spirituality Rocks. Please send us a self-addressed stamped envelope to Post Office Box 472, Woodbury, New York, 11797. I want you to know that next week we have Dr. Barbara King on the show. She's written the book Transform Your Life. We have Dr. Stella Pizzella, who is the Assistant Dean of Emerson Theological Institute. The following week, we have David Alt, who's this genius musician. The next week, we have Bonnie Barnard, who wrote the book It's All Good, It's All God. We have so much spiritual food for you. Tune in every week. Mark Anthony Lord, thank you so much for being with us today on Spirituality Rocks.
Thank you. It's fun.
So tune in next week, same time, same place. And remember, you can check out the show anytime during the week, even if it's not live, by going to spiritualityrockstv.com. See you next week on Spirituality Rocks.